There's a moment burned into pop culture history. A young woman clutching an Oscar, her voice cracking as she blurts out that people actually like her. Audiences laughed it off as an odd little outburst. What almost nobody understood at the time was how much pain was sitting underneath that sentence, or how long Sally Field had been waiting for anyone to say it back to her. Home for her wasn't a safe word growing up. Her mother remarried when Sally was still a child, bringing a stuntman and actor into the household who, on paper, looked like stability. Behind closed doors it was anything but. Decades later, in a memoir she titled In Pieces, Sally finally wrote what she'd never said publicly, that her stepfather had sexually abused her starting when she was barely old enough to understand what was happening, abuse that stretched on for years while her mother, dealing with her own addiction, either didn't see it or couldn't face it. She didn't write it for pity. She wrote it because she'd spent her adult life performing a normal childhood she never actually had. Acting became her way out almost before she chose it. She was still a teenager when she landed Gidget, then The Flying Nun not long after, shows that made her a household name while quietly convincing an industry she wasn't capable of anything more serious. It took years of fighting that image before Hollywood let her prove otherwise. Her first Oscar came for Norma Rae in 1979. Her second, 5 years later, for Places in the Heart, and it was that second win that produced the speech people still quote, half joking without knowing what it actually meant. She wasn't chasing applause. She was a woman who had never been sure she deserved to be loved, hearing a room full of strangers answer that question out loud. Her relationships offered little shelter from any of it. Her years with Burt Reynolds, beginning in the late 70s, became one of Hollywood's most public romances, and by her own account, one of its more suffocating ones. She's described him as controlling, resentful of her success even while it played out in front of cameras. She said plainly that once it ended, she had no interest in ever speaking his name again. 2 marriages followed, both ending in divorce, and 3 sons who became, by every account, the steadiest relationships of her adult life. Her career kept expanding through Steel Magnolias, Mrs. Doubtfire, Forrest Gump, and later a striking turn as Mary Todd Lincoln that reminded audiences she'd never really been just anyone's mother figure. But away from the sets, she's been candid about something quieter, growing older without a partner beside her, building one of the most celebrated careers of her generation while never quite finding the peace at home she spent decades portraying for other people's families on screen. Putting the abuse into words for her memoir, she's admitted, cost her more than she expected. Reliving the addiction in her house, the years of doubting her own memory, of wondering if anyone would believe her even now, none of it came easily. But it gave her something she'd waited 70 years for, the chance to finally say what happened in her own voice, without anyone else shaping the story for her. At 79, Sally Field is still working, still regarded as one of the finest actresses of her generation, but the woman behind those performances carried a weight no script ever came close to matching. She kept it hidden for most of a lifetime, then chose, finally, to let it be heard, and in doing that, gave permission to a lot of people quietly carrying the same silence. If Sally Field's story moved you, let us know in the comments. And subscribe for more stories behind the biggest names in Hollywood.